the first 6 places, and it was Zulauf and Hendrik Still that led Alain Gabet around to turn 1. The rest of the cars making it, some going 3, 4 and even 5 abreast. One particular moment though, into turn 1, a collision between Enzo Juliet and Philippe Viscouch.
It's having a little clash, one parked, the other getting away rather badly, and then a brilliant restart from having fallen from 2nd to 4th in that scramble out of the pits. Got it all back in the hands of Stefan Lemery, took the lead of the race, and then that was the change. Chased after the Leipzig Motorsport car, having got into 2nd, he got into the lead of the race. Little spin there for number 3.
Went wrong with it. It suddenly gave an opportunity for those in behind, and it really was tough in behind. Jura Panger being pushed here and there. And then this is just what the AGS events team did not want to see. Its car slowing down and pulling off. That put the NM Racing Mercedes into the lead of the race. The Aston Martin pulled off the circuit. Look how tight it was behind on the restart. But for
ping on, and eventually he took the move around the outside. He tried it the lap before, it didn't work this time. He just stuck to his guns round the outside. Then on the final lap, looked so Koffler was going to go into 2nd place, and suddenly relief for the RN Vision STS crew, because the pressure was off as that battle for 2nd just gave a 1 second advantage to our race leader. So Baitskevich.
One by one, Igor Litvinenko was one of several drivers to be relegated as Federer moved his way forwards. After the pit stop sequence, Jamo Hertling took over the number 11 Mercedes, and he continued the good work, pushing forwards up into 8th place at the front. Storm Yer trucking back to the inside out of that turn 1. Keeping it out of the wall was quite a skill. Great driving here from all of these drivers in the ADOC GT4 Germany. Reiter was continuing his march through the pack, but missing a braking point into turn 1. And very quickly, all of that hard work is undone.
And they're challenging so hard, the Phoenix Racing number 5 Audi, and there were several moments when the McLaren ended up on the grass, but a nice metronomic run, keeping it clean. The 111 BMW kept on picking its way up the order. Gabriele Piana handed it over to Razvan Umberescu. Here comes the number 5 Audi, but look, there's damage to the right rear corner of the car, clouted the barriers on the way into the pit lane, and for the rest of the race, the bodywork was flapping. And it was all very tidy indeed. Milan Doncha preserving the lead, a big charge from Even Pereiras on the outside of that number 2 Mercedes, being pushed by Marcus Lungstrass, the Pro-Am runner, and then unfortunately a spin for the number 6 Audi. That took it out of the overall reckoning deep into the gravel. But the story in the early stages of the race was Finley Hutchinson making the move.
Spare, but tiptoeing through the traffic was very important, not to get involved in an accident or a non-finish. The chaser was Berke Besler, and a very, very difficult day for him and co-driver Gabriele Piana. Besler had started 15th on the grid and needed to win the race to stay in the championship hunt, but an encounter with Roman Felderfeld
translated into a safety car period that delayed the pit window, but we did get going. And then way out wide was Valentin Asclot having a moment. Pit stop cycled through, others were on their toes. And it meant that then there was this drama in the pits as well. Theo Noe trying to get out of the car, and it lurched forward. That's being looked at by the officials as well. But it was down at Hawthorns where Laura Kreihammer moved across on the McLaren. The car was spat across the gravel and bang into the barriers. So with the barrier damaged, Ricardo van der Ende okay. The race was taken behind the safety car to 75%, and then the red flag waved to off that car. We had the safety car on the restart. Good progress by Nelson Panciatici, moving up on the inside at Stini to gain a place with Benjamin Larouche on the back of that train, and then he made his move and got through on the inside, coming up towards the chicane. Those two would continue to trade places all the way to the end of the hour. On the pit stops, though, it was a good effort made by Luc Still. Continue to build his lead. Bit of contact between Mustang and McLaren as Matt Nicol-Jones got involved with Alex Denning, whose car was starting to fade away. And when it made its pit stop, you can see the damage on the right-hand side. That was Mustang-shaped. In he came, driver change.
Going to have to pull off into the pits to get that billboard removed before rejoining at the back of the pack. Meanwhile, at the front, the race leader had succumbed to Hendrik Still, the Avia WS Motorsport Porsche number 1, moving into the lead. Jan-Philipp Springhob making his return to
the order. And then this great battle for the lead. Stefan Lemery in the little CMR Alpine. Why did he drop back? He had a front left puncture. That cost him the lead. Romain Monsi stayed out as long as he could, and he handed in, came into the pits, handed over the 66 Bullet Racing
Mercedes to his teammate. Ender in that 8 BMW, working his way from 6th up to 3rd, and the car went backwards. Then it had a drive-through penalty. Tom Wood, unfortunately, given a clatter. Further clatters further down the field, and among them was the 68 Camaro, but that continued to have a
bulk. And then as Hart started to wane and the car got its penalty anyway, Benjamin Lessen made his move and went through into the race lead. Another effort came from Michael Benya here. He got the lead, but he ran wide, and then that in turn forced the other McLaren up the curb.
Advantage to pole starter Daniel Mackay, but eventually he was hunted down and passed in a really bold manoeuvre from Simon Knapp in that 25 MDM Motorsport BMW. They came in at different times, and who was going to read the situation best? Dan Mackay coming over to hand over to Benjamin Lessen, and the only one of the top 6 runners that really
WNS Porsche. Linus Harner up into 2nd place, relegating Federer. Then Robinson was through as well. With all the fighting behind, Berke Besseler was clear at the front, opening up a 10. Philip Gogolok behind him. Fury fighting hard to hold on to that 2nd place, but soon there was to be a red flag for a very large accident involving numerous cars. At the restart, Finn Zulauf continued to fend off Philip Gogolok, with Tommy Gore in 3rd. Successful pass on Ferdinand Winter moved him up to 4th. Winter's misery was compounded further by a visit to the penalty box for exceeding track limits. Then a challenge for the lead. Finn Zulauf moved past Denny Byrne to secure valuable points in the championship fight. Mikael Schrey was
repaired. The race got back underway. As it did so, it gave a chance for Barschauten to have another go at the race leader, but the gap opened up across the first stint as battles raged on lower down the order. We had going off wide through the ground.
Nach einem frühen Fahrerwechsel übernimmt Enrico Förderer für J-Mo Hertling und macht direkt Druck. Geht vorbei an Emil Heyerdahl. Der Wimmer Werkfahrer kam gerade erst aus der Box, seine Reifen noch nicht wieder auf Betriebstemperatur. Der nächste auf dem Weg nach vorne ist Tommy Gore. Der Jamaikaner
being challenged and passed because the crossbows were charging their way through. The Matt Nicol-Jones, Will Moore, Aston Martin, very strong, running 2nd in the opening sequence of the race before Moore handed over. And there's Jonathan Chicotto Jr. having a spin. That was the battle for 2nd place, and suddenly it promoted those behind. And then we had the charge from the...
Keep out of the worst of the skirmishes. Further back, it's a very different story. Intense duels up and down the field, with Mark Di Fulgentio starting from grid position 12, struggling to get to grips with the track near Chemnitz. The 2nd place driver in the overall standings, Denis Bolotov, was damage to the rear tyre. I think there was, because suddenly David Jahn slowed. Mike David Altman takes the lead, and Jahn's championship is over, as is Yanis Fitch's, because a puncture will take them out of the race. They have to retire. It will be no points, and they can no longer be contenders in the championship. So the Porsche
Chevrolet, and got rid of, spectacularly, Yacht Rapage as well down at Tosa. Ivaniev may well have a case to answer, but it has been a dramatic weekend with 2 race wins going the way of Gabriele Piana and Bas Schouten. From
Ibrahim Okiai, who gained about 6 places off into the gravel, brought out a safety car. A car that had already come in from pit stop, then clattered the barriers. That ended up down in 13th place. You don't hit your car, come away with that damage. But look at the quality of the racing. It was super, super tight, and 27 had it all under control. The AGS events Aston Martin, but alas, it was not to be their day.
2 cars bouncing off each other into turn 1. Makesh coming out on top. Josef Knopp also involved, having taken over the number 8 Mercedes from Almeida. The attack from Zulauf was not long coming again into turn 1. Again, the car's brushing the dirt. It was the same again on the following lap. This time, Zulauf coming out on top in the battle. It was Finn Zulauf who eventually took his second, who is taken over from Alex Connor, was the next to challenge the number 2 car. In the background, you could see Emil Yedrum, but then he had pulled alongside, and it was a wild ride for Yedrum. The BWT Muka Motorsport Mercedes getting airborne on the exit of the corner, shedding bodywork, but continuing.
Some loss, but certainly our race-winning crew reckon they did it very well indeed, because when the pit stops were completed, they were at the front and the others were doing the chasing. And then we had a flurry of drive-through penalties, and one of the cars affected was the 112 crew. They didn't get theirs until right at the end. They didn't get to serve it. They finished 3rd on the track. But the fighting was absolutely fearsome. And the 92 crew, they're pushing so